When a sloth mother and her baby were separated, a kind woman found the baby sloth and spent hours searching for its mother. Just watch the heartwarming reunion when they were finally brought back together.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/VE.
Nossos programas oferecem vários idiomas. Acesse suprememastertv.com/schedule e suprememastertv.com/PE.
Also, be sure to follow us on our socials: YouTube, Facebook, Getter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Nico, Pinterest, Reddit, Substack, Telegram, Threads, TikTok, Truth Social, Tumblr, VK, and X, previously known as Twitter, in multiple languages by searching Supreme Master TV.
Some of these older macaques, especially these older males who were used for breeding, they had been there for 2 decades in these cages. And to really just sit and think about that, it is like, how can we do this to someone? How can we justify this?
Madeline Krasno, vegan, supporting science without harming animal people, part 1 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
No one is born to suffer, and if we are taught that befriending an animal and then killing it is right, then we are wrong. It isn't. And if we can prevent suffering, why wouldn't we? Renee King Sonnen, vegan.
Salut means hello in French, one of the official languages of Saint Martin. I'm Tim. From the breezy Caribbean Sea, the islanders send you waves of good wishes for smooth sailings and radiant sunshine in life. May you always be protected by heaven, and may beautiful angels surround you always.
Our cow, Faith, who was blind, loved her bouncy ball. She treated it like it was her baby. When Faith passed away, we knew we had to keep her ball. And when we rescued a new cow, Rosalie, she immediately fell in love with Faith's ball. Rosalie previously had a baby of her own, but that baby was taken from her. The ball brings her comfort. She walks with it, eats with it, and stays near it. We're so happy she found Faith's ball.
United States 7 most vegan-friendly cities ranked. Number 7, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Number 6, Austin, Texas. Number 5, New York City, New York. Number 4. Asheville, North Carolina. Number 3. Orlando, Florida. Number 2. Los Angeles, California. Number 1. Portland, Oregon.
Vegan, leading the real good change.
Cheerful viewers, welcome to our show today. Madeline Krasno, vegan. Supporting science without harming animal people, part 1 of 2. What does truly unfold in the closed doors of laboratories using animal persons for research? The harsh realities most often experienced by these powerless, voiceless beings remain largely hidden and unfathomable to most of the public. Encountering such obliviousness towards the ordeals endured by lab animal people, many who empathize and care feel compelled to act for their welfare. Madeline Krasno is one of them. To attain the objectives of more humane processes and the complete phase-out of lab animal persons, a few decades ago, a framework for change was built on principles called the 3 R's: replacement, reduction, and refinement. The replacement criteria call for alternate study subjects to be considered. Reduction supports lowering the number of animal persons used in experiments, while refinement requires minimizing the suffering inflicted. The questions beg, though, are these 3 R's principles ethical? Do they truly close the case on the brutal realities faced by animal persons involved in research labs? Madeline Krasno, vegan, who had worked in a laboratory, expresses her trauma in an article entitled, "I worked at the UW primate lab and the inhumanity still haunts me." She majored in zoology and was appointed at a university laboratory. While working there, she witnessed firsthand the plight of primates subjected to experiments.
Growing up, I definitely looked up to people who worked with animals. I actually remember as a child doing a report even, or research on someone who studied elephants in the wild, and I really was just fascinated by someone who could live their life doing that. And so as I got older, I especially was fascinated by work with chimpanzees, and just primates in general. And so that fascination kind of grew more and more, especially in college, when I took a course that was focused on primates. It was after that class that I made the decision to declare zoology as a major and start kind of going on this path towards primate conservation. So that was I took this class my freshman year of college, and then it was my sophomore year of college that I started on this path, and ultimately is what led me to working in a primate lab.
The most powerful daily prayer for any time and before meditation, which is the order from God and Supreme Master Ching Hai, shares with us by His blessed grace.
We humbly worship, praise, thank, obey, and love God Almighty, the Most High, the greatest, for world vegan, world peace, and our soul liberation. We thank, love, praise the only Son of God, who is the ultimate Master for our salvation. We follow the teaching of all the saints and sages. We thank, love, and praise them, who are the representatives of God for our spiritual elevation.
As we listen to Madeleine Krasno, we get to envision what the milieu, ambience, and work procedures of a laboratory represent for the animal persons subjected to research. There, by standards, animal beings are just numbers and identified as so, and caretakers are cautioned against direct interactions. It was through a given primate, who unusually was named Norm, that Madeleine uncovered the true nature of these caged beings.
Norm was one of the monkeys that the staff kind of collectively knew as Norm, and this is unusual because in labs, these animals tend to not have actual names, like it's usually like letters or numbers. So in the lab that I worked in, monkeys were referred to by 2 letters and 2 numbers. And so it would be something like AX43. But Norm was one of the animals that somehow got himself a name, and it was just like we all knew him. And it's hard to do, like when you think about the fact that there are over 500 monkeys in this lab, like it's really hard to individualize these animals in these situations, and I think that's on purpose. So anyway, with Norm, I met Norm one of my first weeks starting as a caretaker at the lab. And, one of the first things we're told is you're not supposed to, touch the animals. These are wild, dangerous animals. They have rhesus macaques, especially the larger males. They've got teeth that are this big. They're dangerous, and they're in a really scary situation for them. One of my coworkers was kind of introducing me to Norm, and I watched him go up to Norm and the mesh caging. So it's they live in these metal small cages, not that much bigger than their bodies. And it's mesh, metal, very just sort of barren is the word I like to use. And I was just wow, this is especially interesting behavior for in a lab, because I would say the majority of the animals are very stressed. That's very apparent. Or they just simply are trying to avoid any sort of interaction with humans. And Norm was actually okay with eye contact, which again, monkeys collectively see eye contact as a threat, especially in this kind of situation. And my coworker is, with his gloved hands, kind of picking at Norm's fur to groom him back. And so anyway, this was directly against what we were told. But I started doing the same thing with Norm when I would be in that room. I would groom him, he would groom me. And then one day Norm was gone. And when I finally asked what had happened to him, I was told that he had been put into a research study that was specifically on alcoholism, where he was given unlimited alcohol, so he could just drink as much as he wanted. And I don't know what happened to Norm after that. I never saw him again.
Vegan, 'cause money can't buy our life.
Gentle viewers, let us pause to pay tribute to those who sacrifice their safety, comfort, and well-being to defend the innocent, voiceless animal people involved in research labs. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Hi, honey! Hello! Jim? No. What are you doing, sweet boy? Oh my God. What are you doing? Oh my goodness, you're so pretty.
Wise viewers, welcome back to our show. Madeleine Krasno, vegan, supporting science without harming animal people, part 1 of 2. Madeleine Krasno became a zoologist as she loved primates. Although an ideal opportunity awaited her at a university lab, the reality of what was inflicted on primates used in laboratory research made her question it all.
I got involved in the lab itself because I wanted to work in primate conservation, right? So I'm thinking this is going to be a great step for me to get experience right now with primates. It was simply like, well, you know, I can be a caretaker and go care for these monkeys in this lab. So that's kind of like how I got involved and didn't really realize what I was getting involved in, what I was signing up for. It was like you go into this lab and you're suddenly put in this situation where you see hundreds of monkeys either living for the most part with one other individual or alone in these barren cages day after day. I know one of the things that surprises people the most is when I tell them that some of the monkeys that were in the lab were older than me. I was 20, 21, 22 at the time, and these macaques, they can live into their 20s, up to 30 even, if they aren't killed already in research. And so some of these older macaques, especially these older males who were used for breeding, they had been there for 2 decades in these cages. And to really just sit and think about that, it is like, how can we do this to someone? How can we justify this?
Madeleine herself faced various psychological upheavals by the suffering witnessed daily while working in the lab. She also felt that the abundant streams of funding poured into labs involving animal people could certainly be funneled into discovering, improving, and implementing alternative modes of research not requiring cruelty.
I realized many years later, when I was kind of starting to try to talk about things and realizing that so much of my memory is gone. I didn't even know that I was being traumatized at the time. Like, I knew it was upsetting, but I didn't fully understand what was really taking place and what it was doing to me. But I was there for 2 years. Like, there should be more, but I really, I shut down. I was living 2 different lives in order to survive and to keep working there. I think that we need to be putting more energy into alternatives. And I just feel like we're smart enough to do this and to not use animals. I mean, it's like when they die, you're like, this is so awful. And then you're like, well, what's the alternative? What is their life? There's no winning. And a lot of the people who worked specifically as caretakers in this industry, like myself, as opposed to actually doing the research, people get into it because they love animals. They don't realize that what it's gonna do to them to be like, I love animals, but I'm helping these animals be, exploited.
Madeleine Krasno listened to her heart and launched Justify. She bravely journeyed on the path of activism, becoming a champion of animal people rights and supporting people working in labs and similar settings. We will be honored to narrate her initiatives in the noble mission in our next episode. For more information on Woodstock Farm Sanctuary and Justify, please visit woodstocksanctuary.org and whenwejustify.org.
Vegan, it's you in the mirror, just more beautiful.
Warm-hearted viewers, thank you for your presence today and for understanding the need to stop cruelty in the name of science. Please join us again on June 20th for Madeline Krasno, Vegan, Supporting Science Without Harming Animal People, Part 2 of 2. Coming up next is Eat According to Your Karma, Part 1 of 6, on Between Master and Disciples. May you follow the guiding light of the divine and reach the heavenly home.
Being vegan, having peace, having Godspeed.